Seeing the waiter's embarrassed expression, Xue Haoling was also feeling annoyed. It seems that you will not understand unless you have been taught a lesson, so you know how to behave. As soon as the voice fell, the waiter's face was white as a sheet. He could guess that these people were cultivators. He was just an ordinary person, how could he be their opponent? At this time a black-robed man walked out from behind the others and said to Xue Haoling, "Why say so much nonsense? Just drive away 2 tables of customers." The man's face was cold and there was a bit of impatience within his eyes. Obviously he was displeased with Xue Haoling and the waiter's argument. Hearing this, Xue Haoling nodded his head again and again. It was easy to see how much he respected this black-clothed man. Lu Jinqi had a smile on her face. Is it okay to drive them away together? Next, Xue Haoling and the others walked into the restaurant's lobby on the first floor. The waiter wanted to block them, but he did not have the courage. After all, he was really offended by these people. Xue Haoling and the others looked at the tables and saw who were eating. After the eyes landed on them, many felt uncomfortable, and looked away. They did not know who would be the unfortunate ones. People like Bailey Hongzhuang and her friends were still eating their meals, and when Xue Haoling's eyes landed on them there was a bit of threat contained within. Lu Jingqi's eyes fell on a purple figure in the restaurant, because she found that she was wearing the exact same clothes as her sister. Look at that table. Lu Jingqi looked at Lu Jinglin and pointed at Xia Jiqing. Lu Jinglin's eyes swept over Xia Jiqing and she instantly understood her sister's plan. Her sister had never liked to share anything with others, and not even someone wearing the same clothes as her. "Xue Haoling, let us sit at this table," Lu Jinglin said. Looking at the direction that Lu Jinglin was pointing, Xue Haoling saw a table with 4 women. Originally he would never have chased away 4 women, as he would be blamed of bullying, however he had liked Lu Jinglin for a long time. He would not refuse anything she asked of him. Everyone within the lobby looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 4 girls with pity. They were really unlucky. Bailey Hongzhuang was seated with her back to the other people, but after seeing the sympathetic eyes of the other people she could easily guess what had happened. "Hongzhuang, they are coming towards us." Xia Jiqing's face was filled with anger, so many people in the lobby but they went for them. Did they think they were easy to bully? At this time Xue Haoling's voice rang from behind Bailey Chongzhuang. "We need to use this table. Go away and I will pay for your food." Xue Haoling looked proud but then he saw the woman next to Bailey Hongzhuang, and his face could not help but change a few times. So beautiful. Even more beautiful than Lu Jinglin. Such temperament and looks, simply a goddess in every man's mind. Lu Jinglin also noticed this, her face turning ugly. Her appearance had always been praised by others, and now there was a woman who was even more beautiful than her. Oh! How generous! Xia Jiqing stood up. "Why should we go?" Xue Haoling and the others were drawn to this other woman's appearance. It was not comparable to the other woman, but it was also charming. "I told you to go, so you have to go." Lu Jingqi raised her eyebrows and her expression was filled with arrogance. "If you don't leave, don't blame us for driving you out." Bragging. Zhang Yunfeng also stood up and looked at Lu Jingqi with a glare. "You are not the only cultivator here." Next Zhang Yunfeng directly took out her sword and put it on the table. At the same time Gong Shaoqing and the others from the table next to them also stood up. They did not like to get into trouble, but they would not be bullied. When they saw Gong Shaoqing and the others also stood up, they were stunned. They thought the 4 girls at the table were alone, they had not expected the 4 men next to them to be together with them. As a result, it would become messy. Li Jingqi's face was ugly and she had not expected to pick such a large group of people. "I'll give you 3 seconds, scram." The voice of Bailey Hongzhuang was cold. This kind of person who was so arrogant, she did not need to give them even the slightest bit of face. With the words of Bailey Hongzhuang, Xue Haoling's face instantly turned ugly. Although they had 8 people, it would just be a little troublesome. Never would they have expected that this white-dressed woman with her back to them would talk about them leaving. Such courage. Lu Jingqi snorted, "Who are you to tell us to scram? We were eating here, and you ran to us for no reason, telling us to leave. That is such bad upbringing. I told you to scram, it is already giving you enough face." Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was completely cold, not having the slightest temperature. This person is not even turning around, even if it was to an ordinary person, this would be severe humiliation. This was an insult. When the words came out, Lu Jingqi and the others' faces turned colorful. This woman had a sharp tongue, they could not refute her at all. The other guests, after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang, all felt that she was correct. All the people who were nervous before were now watching a great show. Xue Haoling had picked a hard bone. They just had to look at the white-clothed girl to know that they were equally important. Li Jingqi sneered in anger, "If you have the ability to face us, then do so. Are you so ugly that you don't dare turn around?" Li Jingqi had always been arrogant, so what if what she said made no sense? She was an unreasonable person, but strength was the truth. However, after hearing Lu Jingqi's words, Xia Jiqing could not help but laugh. This Lu Jingqi is really an idiot. Bailey Hongzhuang is the most attractive of them all, now she said that she was too ugly and afraid to meet people. Not only Xia Jiqing, but also Dongfang Yu and the others at the side could not help but laugh. If they said she was ugly, then no one would dare to say that they were beautiful. Next, under the gaze of Lu Jingqi and the others, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly turned around. The beautiful face which could make cities crumble held a mocking smile. "What did you just say?" Xue Haoling took a deep breath of air when he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of him. He thought that Lu Qingyue was already the best amongst women, but then when he saw this white-dressed woman he realized that there was one even more outstanding. Chapter 641, is looking for abuse all along. Xue Haoling had always thought that Lu Jinglin was a very beautiful woman. Throughout the entire Beihai College, Lu Jinglin and Lu Jingqi were very famous and many practitioners pursued them. However, the eyes of these sisters were set high, and ordinary people could not even enter their eyes. Only special enrollment students could get to know them. He had long since regarded Lu Jinglin as his goal. Although Lu Jinglin was proud, at least she was not sharp-tongued. In his view, beautiful and powerful women had the capital to be arrogant. As for Lu Jingqi, it was too troublesome and her words would not easily be forgiven. Therefore, between the sisters, he has decided on Lu Jinglin. Nowadays everyone at the college knew that he had Lu Jinglin as a goal, and that they are close usually. He was somewhat proud of this. He had never thought that the four women in front of him would be the same as Lu Jinglin, two of them were even better. Lu Jingqi saw the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and shock appeared in her eyes, before her face turned to the color of pig liver. She wanted to take the woman down, who knew she was just looking to be abused. You, Li Jingqi opened her mouth but she did not know what to say, the original arrogance had disappeared. The people who were watching could not help but laugh at this scene, it was really such an interesting situation. The waiter was feeling better. He was really annoyed with Xue Haoling and the others, but he was not their opponent. Now seeing them eating a loss, he naturally felt much better. Bailey Hongzhuang simply ignored Lu Jingqi and raised her fingers. 3. After listening to the words of Bailey Hongzhuang, Xue Haoling's face was gloomy. This white-dressed woman was destroying their face. If they left like this, then where would their faces be? 2. Dongfang Yu and the others were standing at the same place without a care. In fact, the provocation that they had been subject to had aroused their anger. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang was making them all happy. "Girl, your attitude is bad." At this time, Xiaolanmei stood up. His eyes were focused on Bailey Hongzhuang, within the cold eyes were a few colors. Such a beautiful woman, if she is too troublesome it is a pity. When they saw Xiao Lanmei stand up, Lu Jinglin and the others had changes in their expressions. Everyone knew the attitude of Xiao Lanmei. He would been too lazy to deal with things ordinarily, therefore on the way he rarely did anything, but they do not dare to look down upon him. Xiao Lanmei was the strongest amongst them. It was because they understood his temperament and personality that they were shocked that he suddenly stood up. Could it be that he stood up because of the white woman in front of them? Chapter 642, It is best to make friends. Thinking of this, the faces of Lu Jinglin and Lu Jingqi were ugly as they looked at one another. It is true that what we did was not correct, however we can still make it right. How about making some new friends? Otherwise, if we truly move against one another, then there will be no benefits to any of us. Xiao Lanmei's face was filled with confidence. Although the other party had 8 people, they too had 8 people. Even though it was not clear how the strength of the other party was, they were all around the same age. Once they got hands-on and hurt one another, it would not become a good thing. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiao Lanmei indifferently. This guy looked sincere, but she did not forget what he had said before. This person is definitely not a soft persimmon. With the voice of Xiao Lanmei falling, the expressions of Xia Jiqing and the others changed slightly. As Xiao Lanmei said, if they truly began fighting, the result could not be guessed. However, moments after, Bailey Hongzhuang turned her back to them, sat down, and continued to eat. Xiao Lanmei's face turned ugly, and Lu Jingqi could not help but take advantage of the scene to say, "Hey, what do you mean by acting like this? He already said that we should fix it, then I will pretend that nothing has ever happened. As for being friends, everyone is different, but that's our freedom to choose." After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's behavior, all the others sat down and began eating again, not paying any mind at the others, pretending that Xiao Lanmei and his friends were air. At the beginning, Bailey Hongzhuang was the new girl in their special enrollment class. Now after being in the ruins, Bailey Hongzhuang had already broken through to the innate realm. In the world of cultivators, strength was what determined everything, no one looked at people's age. For this reason, today Bailey Hongzhuang had slowly become their leader. All of them were convinced about her strength and ability. Xiao Lanmei's face was a bit green. For the first time when he tried to make a friend, someone refused, not even giving him any face. This made him feel immensely uncomfortable. Don't think you are something special. Xiao Lanmei wants to make friends with you and you are still unwilling. Lu Jingqi raised her voice, her eyes were filled with shock. Do you know who we are? When the words of Lu Jingqi was said, the expression of Gong Shaoqing and the others changed a bit. Previously they felt that so many young cultivators gathered together were likely coming from a college. When they heard Lu Jingqi's words, they affirmed their thoughts. So the students of Beihai College are this arrogant when traveling outside? The red lips of Bailey Hongzhuang hooked up slightly, and the smile made her resemble an evil spirit. The black eyes were shining with a cold light. Originally she just wanted to have a good meal, but because of the actions of these guys, she had lost her appetite. Beihai College. The people in the restaurant were stunned after hearing the name of Beihai College. Although Lingyin College was the best-known college within Qing dynasty, the name of Beihai College was still very good. It was a gathering place for many young geniuses. These young people actually came from Beihai College. That was an extinguished identity. When Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, the expression on Lu Jingqi's face constantly changed in color. She had not expected that this white-dressed woman would be able to guess their identity right away. Chapter 643, Kanglin College's Special Enrollment Students. What was most unexpected for these students from Beihai College was not that the woman in white had accurately guessed their identity. What truly surprised them was that the woman had guessed their identity and still had such an attitude. We are not ordinary students of Beihai College, Lu Jingqi could not help but stress. In the eyes of ordinary people, the students of Beihai College were already unreachable, but the future of special enrollment students was even brighter, not something a normal student could compare to. Aren't you just special enrollment students? Right? Xia Jiqing sneered. For her, Lu Jingqi was the worst of them all. In the past, Lu Jingqi had pointed her finger at them because this woman was wearing the same dress as her. She was also very proud of being a special enrollment student from Kanglin College, however she was far from as arrogant. Hearing Xia Jiqing's words, Lu Jingqi was even angrier than before. Who was this person? Daring to have such an attitude. What are you doing? Who are you? Don't you know how special it is to be a special enrollment student of Beihai College? When the voice of Lu Jingqi fell, the expression of the Beihai College's special enrollment students' faces were not looking too good. All of them were looking at Bailey Hongzhuang and he friends. As a special enrollment student they had always been respected by everyone. When have they ever heard someone provoke them like this? This tone, they have long since felt insulted. It seems they are going to fight. They are the special enrollment students of Beihai College. I don't know the identity of the white-dressed woman and her companions, but they do not have the slightest fear on their faces. If they really fight, then they will give us a good show. There were a lot of people talking, seeing such a good show was rare on normal days. They also want to know how strong the special enrollment students of Beihai College were. Gong Xiaoqing and the others took out their weapons, and the contest between the cultivators has always been with real weapons. They had no intention of actually paying attention to them, but Lu Jingqi had been looking for trouble. If they continue to be patient, wouldn't they be sullying the name of their college? What's more, the students of Beihai College were their opponents, and they couldn't help but be offended. They were standing in different camps. Kanglin College, Special Enrollment Class, Gong Xiaoqing slowly announced. As soon as the words were said, Xiao Lanmei and the others were stunned. No matter what they thought, they did not think that the white-dressed woman and he friends turned out to be special enrollment students from Kanglin College. This was truly a narrow road. They were all rushing towards Lingyin College, but they had not imagined to meet each other at the border to the Qing dynasty. Kanglin College. The crowds of the restaurant were dumbfounded at the moment. The Kanglin College was equally famous, it had not lost to Beihai College at all. They did not expect the two colleges to collide like this. It was no wonder they did not give each other face. It turned out that they were representing two different colleges. Xiao Lanmei suddenly understood why Bailey Hongzhuang had such an attitude towards him. It turned out that she had already seen through their identity. Although they had not completely torn faces with each other, there were a lot of grievances between the two colleges. Thinking of this, Xiao Lanmei's face turned better. I was originally also a member of the Kanglin College, Xue Haoling sneered. He had worried about where the others came from, but after hearing that they came from Kanglin College, he felt that there was no need to worry. Chapter 644, If you have the ability, then let's go out and fight. The Kanglin College had not had good results in the last two college tournaments. Although this time, the story about the ancient ruins had spread everywhere, the college tournament was especially prepared to deal with them. Once Kanglin College collapsed once more, it would be impossible for it to lift its head in front of Lingyin College. Beihai College had already joined forces with Lingyin College some years ago, and while Kanglin College had lost, they had received some benefits. I said, who are they to think that they are so great? Turned out that they are the special enrollment students of the Kanglin College who has been doing so badly the last two tournaments. Lu Jinglin smiled smugly, but the dark eyes were flashing with a strange light. For so long, Xiao Lanmei had never paid attention to her, but in front of this white-dressed woman he changed. Xiao Lanmei was acting differently towards her, how could she not be angry? Thinking of this, Lu Jinglin naturally tried to laugh at Bailey Hongzhuang. She wants the other party to be unable to lift her head. The faces of Gong Xiaoqing and the others changed a few times. Lu Jinglin's words were clearly laughing at them. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. There was an air of indifference and coldness around her as she said, "As a cultivator, even if you lose you cannot be without courage. Those who only know how to flatter those who has power, will never go far." "Yes." Xia Jiqing clapped her hands, "You are just a dog of Lingyin College, I really don't know what you are so proud of. You are looking for death." Lu Jinglin's face changed and she immediately took out her weapon and pointed it at Xia Jiqing. Xia Jiqing was not afraid at all. She pulled out her whip and looked at Lu Jinglin without fear. "If you have the guts, don't just stand there and swear. I don't have the patience for this." At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had also taken out their weapons, and the two sides had reached a point where they had no other solution than to fight. "If you have the ability, then let's go out and fight." The voice of Bailey Hongzhuang was very cold. They had a large number of people, if they fought within the restaurant, they would undoubtedly harm others. It was better to go out and fight it out. "Come on then." Lu Jingqi screamed out loud. She had never been this angry in her entire life. She had to see just how strong this woman was. The next moment, everyone left the restaurant together. Before they left, Bailey Hongzhuang still remembered to pay for the food. Even when the waiter refused to accept the money she still paid. The waiter was truly grateful. Bailey Hongzhuang had not only solved a big problem for him, she had also avoided damage being done to the restaurant. Such a good person was truly rare. Not only the waiter but also the other people in the restaurant nodded after seeing the scene. Although I don't know how the strength of the two colleges compare, I still think the students of Kanglin College are much better than the students of Beihai College. It was now known who said this, but everyone agreed with the person. Yes, the students of Kanglin College were far superior to Beihai College's student in terms of appearance and character. The students of Beihai College are a group of people who are just a bit talented. This kind of people were better off with no talent. In the future, if they get stronger, their strength will only be used to harm others. Xue Haoling and the others were walking out of the restaurant, and as they walked they could hear the voices of everyone and their faces were suddenly extremely ugly to behold. These people were simply calling them worthless. Chapter 645, Special Enrollment Students Fighting Hand in Hand. As soon as they had walked out of the restaurant, the cultivators from the two colleges instantly began fighting. They had to use their own strength to let the other side understand how they had to pay a huge price for offending them. Lu Jingqi instantly regarded Bailey Hongzhuang as her target. However, things were not as she had planned, and before he had time to get in front of Bailey Hongzhuang, Xia Jiqing stopped her directly. "Your opponent is me." Seeing Xia Jiqing, Lu Jingqi's eyes were filled with disgust. This woman was wearing the same clothes as her, making her nauseous. "I am going to beat you into a sorry state." Lu Jingqi yelled angrily. "Begin fighting if you have the ability, there is no meaning in saying so much nonsense." Listening to Lu Jingqi's swear words, Xia Jiqing did not fear her at all. She had long since seen that her arrogance was far greater than her strength. She had been used to the words she said, now to teach her a lesson. Lu Jinglin rushed in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. "You will regret everything you just did." She refused to let go of this woman who was being noticed by Xiaolanmei. Bailey Hongzhuang originally wanted to fight against Xiaolanmei. After all, she was the strongest on the team, while he should be the strongest on their team. She had not expected that Lu Jinglin would come finding her on her own. However, she didn't care who it was. The battle broke out in an instant, and everyone had their energies surging as their fists greet each other. Shockwaves of majestic volatile energy spread through the streets and the surrounding air seemed to have been compressed in an instant. The surrounding merchants had all left when they saw this scene. If they were hit, no one knew what would happen to them. Bailey Hongzhuang directly raised her white hand and her glass sword appeared in her hand. The movement of her body resembled that of a ghost, and she quickly appeared behind Lu Jinglin. Lu Jinglin's reaction was very fast. She was after all a special enrollment student, and she naturally had a bit of skill. Ding! The two women's swords collided and shot off sparks. Bail Hongzhuang was not holding back. She had had no opponents for a while. Now that she had someone to fight, she also felt happy. However, it was clear that Lu Jinglin was not an opponent for Bailey Hongzhuang. Because in just this short moment, Lu Jingli had already been defeated. Lu Jinglin had not thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was this strong. It was just a normal fight, but the pressure that Bailey Hongzhuang gave off was simply too much for her to handle. Every time she responded, she needed to rely on Yuanli to strengthen herself. On the other hand, Bailey Hongzhuang looked as relaxed as if it was nothing. Bang! Bailey Hongzhuang made an attack, and Lu Jinglin's body instantly fell down. She had responded quickly, but even so she still fell down. Ha! Lu Jinglin, who landed on the ground, could not help but spurt out blood, her face turning pale. Upon seeing this, the cultivators of Beihai College glanced at one another. They had just begun fighting and Lu Jinglin was already seriously injured. The eyes of everyone can't help but land on Bailey Hongzhuang. Was this woman with the beautiful appearance really so powerful? Big sister. When Lu Jinglin was injured, Lu Jingqi had no mood to continue fighting. She quickly rushed to Lu Jinglin's side. However, there was a faint glimmer in Xia Jiqing's eyes. She was not a vegetarian, she was going to teach this annoying Lu Jingqi another lesson. The next moment, Xia Jiqing's whip flashed out. Her youthful face released a ridiculing laugh as she put away her whip, her arms wrapped around her chest. She was laughing as she watched Lu Jingqi. This kind of woman ought to be taught a lesson, otherwise she would continue to be a nuisance. Li Jingqi did not notice what happened, as she quickly went to Lu Jinglin's side. Big sister, how are you? She only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was a beautiful shell, she would never have thought that she was so strong. So strong that just a moment of face-to-face fighting had caused her sister to be hurt and vomit out blood. Lu Jinglin stared at her chest, her white palm fell on her chest, and she could only feel a burning pain that spread through her internal organs. She felt painful and uncomfortable. However, when she saw Lu Jingqi approach her, Lu Jinglin's eyes widened and she could not help but say, "Jingqi, you, cough." Once again, Lu Jinglin spat out blood when she tried to talk. When she finally managed to speak again, a long time had gone by. At the same time, the eyes of all others had gathered on Lu Jingqi. Contrary to what one might expect, she was not wearing any clothes. Had she cut them off? Big sister, you are going to be okay. Lu Jingqi helped Lu Jinglin up gently. Although her personality had always been bad, she was still very concerned about her sister. Suddenly noticing something purple out the corner of her eyes, Lu Jingqi could not help but frown. Her face changed slightly. When she saw the purple clothes that were laying on the ground, she could not help but become a bit doubtful. This purple dress. Why was it laying on the ground? Why was it so familiar? Lu Jingqi could not help but stare blankly. When she noticed that Xia Jiqing was standing a bit away laughing, still dressed in her clothes, her complexion had an abrupt change. She bowed her head, just to find that her outer garments were gone, she was only wearing her inner garments. At the same time, Lu Jinglin's voice could be heard, "Jingqi, your clothes." Ah! A sharp and loud scream appeared in the street as Lu Jingqi jumped up in horror. They were fighting on the street and their actions were quite loud, attracting many people to come over and watch. Hadn't she been seen by everyone? Li Jingqi quickly took out a piece of clothes from her qianquan bag and put it on. She then glared angrily at Xia Jiqing and said, "You are too mean." Xia Jiqing innocently shrugged her shoulders. "Everything can happen when you fight, you ought to understand this." Lu Jingqi's face was blue and she knew that Xia Jiqing was mocking her, but she could say nothing in return. "You wait." I will get my revenge. As the voice fell, Lu Jingqi rushed away from the street. She had already completely lost her face, why should she continue to stay? When they saw Lu Jingqi leave, Xue Haoling and the others looked at one another. At this point, how could they fight? Xue Haoling quickly came to the side of Lu Jinglin. We will get revenge at the tournament. Anytime. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into an enchanting and ridiculing smile. The battle ended very fast, none of them had expected this. Don't be too proud. The cultivators of Beihai College all had ugly expressions, and were filled with anger. They were obviously hating Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. You don't have to go like this, we can continue to fight. Xia Jiqing's face was filled with a smug smile. She was acting as if the special enrollment students of Beihai College were unyielding, while in fact the only strength they had was to talk big. Xiao Lanmei glanced deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang, but he never spoke. After a moment he left together with the others from Beihai College. Right, that was so awesome. Xia Jiqing tuned her body around, her face was filled with excitement. The expression of Lu Jingqi was simply wonderful, I had not expected it to be so amusing. Even Zhang Yinfeng could not help but laugh out loud. Jiqing, you are simply a genius, I don't know how you could think of such a method. It was a flash of inspiration. Must be divine might. Xia Jiqing raised her eyebrow. Now Lu Jingqi must really hate you, Lu Qingyue said emotionally. Xia Jiqing just shrugged her shoulders when she heard what she said. She hated me anyway, I was fated to be hated by her. Everyone nodded their heads. It was as Xia Jiqing was saying, the students of Beihai College hated them, but they did not care about it at all. Even if they had not offended them now, they would have done so when they arrived at Lingyin College. This was also a chance to explore their strength. Gong Shaoqing slowly said, the strength of that Xiao Lanmei is not simple at all. He and Xiao Lanmei battled for a short while and he could feel that the latter had never exerted his full strength. He should be holding back intentionally. Listening to the words of Gong Shaoqing, the faces of the others turned solemn. Beihai College was one of the 3 colleges, it would naturally not be bad. Even though we fought, I am afraid that it is impossible to see the true depths of our opponents. They hid themselves deeply, just as we kept our cards hidden. Bailey Hongzhuang said gently. However, what they have been doing was not only themselves who noticed, also the tutors of the 2 colleges had observed the battle that unfolded in front of them. As long as their mentors were present, they would never get to understand the true depth of the other party. Everyone nodded their heads. What Bailey Hongzhuang said made sense. You are right, but now we have a better understanding of the team from Beihai College, that is a good result, even though we did not get to finish eating. Zhang Yinfeng walked beside Xia Jiqing and gave her a thumbs up. Jiqing, what you did before really made me happy, Xia Jiqing chuckled and noted, that Lu Jingqi was so arrogant in front of us, let's see if she can be proud in front of me next time. Everyone must be tired, let us find an inn to rest at, Dongfang you suggested. Good idea, the crowd walked down the street before they found an inn where they entered. Dear guests, would you like to rest in our inn? The shopkeeper asked with a smile on his face. They were a border city so although business was always booming, he had not expected to get 2 big groups of guests in one day. This way, their inn could be filled completely. Dongfang Yu nodded his head, yes, do you have 8 rooms available? There is. The shopkeeper nodded his head again and again, there is exactly 8 rooms left, I will bring you to them. Smiles emerged on their faces. Finally they could take a good rest. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were preparing to go upstairs, a figure appeared on the 2nd floor. The figure looked like it had seen ghost when it noticed Bailey Hongzhuang and it quickly said, how come you are here? The faces of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others was also unnatural. Enemies truly met on a narrow road. That phrase was truly accurate. They had only just finished their fight with Beihai College and now they met them again. This was too coincidental, wasn't it? Is your eyes working? We are obviously at the inn to rest, who would have known you were here? Xia Jiqing sneered. I see, you deliberately picked our inn to stay in. Lu Jingqi's face was blue. From she was small and until now, she had never been as humiliated as she was today, and now Xia Jiqing and the others had followed them. Wasn't this the same as deliberately embarrassing her? You think too much, we aren't interested in you. Xia Jiqing looked at Lu Jingqi with disdain. This Lu Jingqi is really not too smart. We have rented this place, go somewhere else to rest. While Lu Jingqi and Xia Jiqing were talking, Xiaolan Mei and the others also came out from their rooms. As they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, their faces changed slightly. What was the situation? The shopkeeper did not tell us you had rented the entire place. If you are unwilling to live with us, you can move out directly. Zhang Yinfeng said coldly. The cold face of Gong Xiaoqing was also showing some impatience. Take us to the rooms. The students of Beihai College were masters at causing trouble, but he had no intention of continuing to fight with them right now. No matter how much they argue, there is no point. It is better to go back and rest and then wait until Lingyin College. It will not be too late to move against them then. The shopkeeper's face was slightly awkward. He thought he was lucky to get two big groups of customers today, never would he have thought that they were fighting. Yes, the shopkeeper immediately walked away, closely followed by Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. However, before he got far, Lu Jingqi blocked the road of the shopkeeper. I told you we have booked this in today, you can go elsewhere. Xue Haoling even took out a purse and placed it in the hands of the shopkeeper. Do you understand? We have booked this in, you drive them out. Seeing the situation, the shopkeeper was also in a dilemma. Dear guests, you never mentioned this before, it is a problem to do so now. It is obvious that neither of these two teams are ordinary people. If he accidentally offended someone, it would be him who was unfortunate. Xue Haoling, do you only know this one trick? Bai Junyu sneered. This guy also tried to use money on the waiter in the restaurant. Does he have no other ways? Yes, Xue Haoling, you are also a practitioner of the Beihai College, but you only know how to make it difficult for the shopkeeper and the waiter. Aren't you ashamed? When the words came out, Xue Haoling's face turned blue-green. It was true that the two times they had met, he had acted like this both times. I am rich, what can you do about it? Xue Haoling directly said with a domineering voice filled with anger. Money in this world was extremely important. In this kind of situation it was normal to fight with money, otherwise how should they fight? Lu Jingqi's face was also smiling after hearing Xue Haoling's words. This was domineering, and they were rich. There was a bit of impatience in the eyes of Xiaolan Mei. There was no reason to waste time on fighting with each others, and he couldn't help but say, it's just one night, even if they live in the same inn, so what? From the previous restaurant, this was the nearest inn. Because of this, he did not think that the Kanglan College special enrollment students had followed them intentionally. Also, their mentors are close, so there should be no problems. However, Lu Jingqi was not agreeing. How can we? This time they have fought us, if we give way, where will the face of Beihai College go? There is some dissatisfaction in the heart of Lu Jingqi. She felt that Xiaolan Mei was obsessed with Bailey Hongzhuang, and because of this he would allow them to stay in the inn. Because of this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not be allowed to stay. Xue Haoling, drive them out. Hearing what Lu Jingqi said, Xiaolan Mei looked at her indifferently. He was too lazy to deal with it and he directly returned to his room. Obviously he did not plan on wasting any time on this matter. Xue Haoling nodded, and another purse appeared in his hand. I will pay double, just drive them out. The shopkeeper looked at Xue Haoling and Bailey Hongzhuang in a distressed way. This kind of situation was really making it impossible for him to decide. If he had known of this before, he would rather have done no business today and not seen this situation happening. You should not be too overbearing, this is just a small business with ordinary people, don't be too much. Shui Hailong seemed to have not heard what he said and directly declared, I'll pay triple. Xia Jiqing and the others looked at Shui Haolang's behavior as a rich young master, and were speechless. Was he trying to kill them with money? Hongzhuang, do we change the inn? Zhan Yinfeng could not help but ask. Shui Haolang and the Oths are stuck there, it would be hard for them to enter any time soon, and staying here is just causing trouble for the shopkeeper. Listening to Zhan Yinfeng's words, the expressions of Su Haolang and Lu Jingqi showed smugness, they just wanted to let the other side know that they could be forced into a retreat. Now they lost at the restaurant, they could turn it around at the inn. The faces of Bai Junyu and the others were not looking too good, when they encountered a person with such a rich boy attitude they could only be speechless. In fact, all of them were rich, but they were not wasteful. Also, if they were going to compete with Shui Haolang in money, it would never end and they would take out money constantly. However, then Bailey Hongzhuang did something that shocked them all. A purse appeared in her hands and she said casually, Shopkeeper, we are buying this inn. When the words came out, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. Xia Jiqing and the others had hard to describe expressions on their faces that hardly concealed their horror. Too domineering. This is really being domineering. What was Shui Haolang doing before? Bailey Hongzhuang directly bought the entire inn. Lu Qinyue, Dong Fangyu and Gong Shaoqing looked at one another. In fact, when they had first gone to the Luoyun mountain range they had already seen this side of Bailey Hongzhuang. Returning chi pills were a precious remedy, but Bailey Hongzhuang had so many of them. In comparison, Shui Haolang's current savings were truly nothing. Buying this inn was nothing, even if she wanted to buy several inns, it'd be nothing. Bailey Hongzhuang directly bought the inn, only for the purpose of shutting them up. Shui Haolang and Lu Jingqi were also stunned, they did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would make such a move. This woman, she shouldn't be that crazy. They just wanted to stay here for one night, but she actually bought the inn. As a result, those who were screaming before were suddenly quiet, how could this be comfortable? Although Shui Haolang had money to directly buy the inn, it was too wasteful. Suddenly Shui Haolang's gaze landed on the purse that the shopkeeper was holding. The purse was so small it could only contain a few gold coins. Wasn't it a joke to buy an inn with such a small purse? This was the Qing dynasty, and this was Languang town as a border town. There were many trades and merchants here every day. The price of this inn ought to be even more expensive than normal inns. If you want to buy an inn for a few gold coins, it is impossible. With that little money you want to buy an inn? It is impossible, don't joke. Shui Haolang sneered. Hearing the words, Lu Jingqi's gaze also landed on the purse and she could not help but laugh. She is a country bumpkin. To buy an inn with that few gold coins, she is a joke. Bailey Hongzhuang's next words stunned Lu Jingqi. Before actually understanding the situation, I advise you to not be too proud. Otherwise the joke will be you. Compared to the customers of the Beihai College, the students from Kanglin College are calm. They have absolute trust in Bailey Hongzhuang. They already understood her personality, it would be impossible to make such a mistake. Shopkeeper, open and see, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The shopkeeper looked worriedly at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although there is a contradiction between the two teams, Bailey Hongzhuang has left a good impression on him. After all, they did not embarrass themselves or make troubles, so he did not want her to become a joke. However, as he opened the purse a bit of purple could be seen and the worry in his eyes disappeared in an instant. Purple gold coins. The shopkeeper smiled. Shui Haolang and Lu Jingqi were dumbfounded. They would never have guessed that the purse that Bailey Hongzhuang handed over contained purple gold coins. No wonder it looked small, it turned out to be so amazing. During this time, the expressions of both of them turned very ugly. Looking back at what they had just said, this was a slap to their faces. The more proud they were before, the more embarrassed they were now. Haha, you too, it ended up being you who were the joke. Xia Jiqing naturally did not mind taunting them. This kind of people deserved it. You. Lu Jingqi was hopping mad. This Xia Jiqing made her more and more unhappy, but so far she had never gained the upper hand. It was truly driving her mad. What about me? Xia Jiqing shook her head. So unfortunate to be the subject of her hate. Now we own this inn, you can go. You have yet to buy it. The shopkeeper hasn't said he'll sell it. Lu Jingqi looked at the shopkeeper. Previously the shopkeeper was embarrassed and stuck between them. It was not sure that he would sell the inn now. At this time, Bailey Hongzhuang said a few things to the shopkeeper, and once again everyone turned stunned. Shopkeeper, I only want to buy this inn for a day. Tomorrow it will once again be yours. At this time the cultivators from Beihai College were petrified. So much money was simply too much to buy this inn normally, but now it is only to buy the inn for a day. Can't you be less wasteful? Even if you have money, don't you get this point? This was simply to make life hard for them. Xue Haoling was also unable to speak at this moment. How could he compare? Although he was very lavish every day, but this kind of money could be used to buy cultivation resources, so if he returned home and his old man knew how he had spent his money, would he not be killed by his old man? The shopkeeper was no longer hesitant. He quickly said, "Girl, this inn is yours today. I will tell them to pack up immediately." The next moment, the shopkeeper no longer observed the expressions of Xue Haoling and the others. He directly gave back the money he had gained from Xue Haoling, and they had no other option than to go and pack up their things. In this regard, Lu Jingqi could say nothing. When faced with such a good deal, only idiots would not take it. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others slowly went forward, no longer looking at Lu Jingqi and the others. Winners and losers had already been determined. Xia Jiqing sneered at Lu Jingqi, "Go on. If it wasn't because of Lu Jingqi seeking trouble, they would be able to stay here now, but they had to go the hard way." However, Xia Jiqing did not need Bailey Hongzhuang to make a move. They had been driven out and this was a real shame for them. After walking towards their rooms, Bai Junyu's face was still unable to hide his emotions. Hongzhuang is simply too domineering. Xia Jiqing raised her eyebrow. Hongzhuang has always been domineering. But using this much money, isn't it too wasteful? Lu Qinyue's eyebrows were slightly wrinkled and felt it was a pity and a waste. Hearing this, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. This time it was truly refreshing for them. However, the one to suffer the biggest loss was Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing everyone's eyes, she could not help but wave her hand. "Don't worry, this is really nothing." Although she spent money, she also made a fortune. Bailey Hongzhuang returned to her room, and Little Black and Little White smugly appeared in front of her. They shook their claws and offered up the treasure they had found. "Master, do we get a reward?" Seeing Little White and Little Black waving their claws, Bailey Hongzhuang saw 2 qianquan bags. One belonged to Xue Haoling, the other belonged to Lu Jingqi. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, "I'll prepare a big meal for you, eat all you want. Master is the best." The faces of Little Black and Little White were filled with excitement. These 2 idiots Xue Haoling and Lu Jingqi were so angry that they never noticed that their qianquan bags had disappeared. Later on they would become hopping mad, haha. Bailey Hongzhuang opened Xue Haoling's qianquan bag and saw a pile of gold coins, which instantly made her eyes brighten. Xue Haoling had not lied, he was indeed very rich, but now all his money had fallen into the hands on Bailey Hongzhuang. It seems that Xue Haoling's family still understand that money makes the world go around. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a faint smile. she had always thought that with money it's always the more the better. She would never say no thank you to more money. But this guy isn't as strong as master. Under the promise of a big meal, Little Black could not help but flatter her. Truth was that there were really so much money within Xue Haoling's Qianquan bag, but that guy was just not as domineering as Bailey Hongzhuang. Even though Xue Haoling spent a lot of money every day, but if the price was too high, he could not help but chicken out. Putting away the 2 Qianquan bags, Bailey Hongzhuang was ready to go out and buy some food that the beasts could eat in the chaos ring. After all, she promised them a big meal, and the amount of food these 2 foodies, Little Black and Little White, could eat, it was simply amazing. Lu Jingqi and the others reluctantly left the inn. They felt as if they had really lost face today, but they could do nothing about it. There was a lot of people in the world who were good at spending money, but there were very few people who would buy an inn in such a way. When thinking about this white-dressed woman, everyone is feeling immensely helpless. They couldn't find even the slightest weakness. Whether it was appearance, strength, or background, it all seemed to be good, which really gave them unspeakable frustrations. Xiao Lanmei left the inn, and went to another. When it came to it, during the tournament all that mattered was strength and nothing else. However, this white-dressed woman had really made him interested. Such a perfect woman, only a few men would be uninterested in her. Xue Haoling, do you know the specific information of these cultivators from Kanglan College? Xiao Lanmei asked. Hearing the question, Xue Haoling shook his head. Although he liked to inquire about news, he never put the Kanglan College's special enrollment students into his eyes, so he had never looked for their information. It seemed that they really made a mistake. If they had some sort of previous understanding about them, they would not have ended up in this kind of situation. When the cultivators of Beihai College reached the second inn, Xue Haoling was ready to pay when his eyes suddenly turned shocked and his expression ugly. His hands patted his body and his face became more and more pale. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Xue Haoling, what are you doing? Lu Jingqi was impatient. What had happened before had already made her unhappy, now she just wanted to rest, but even this was delayed by Xue Haoling. My Qianquan bag is gone. Xue Haoling exclaimed. There was a lot of treasures inside his Qianquan bag. When it was lost, the loss would simply be too great. When Xue Haoling spoke, the expressions of the others changed slightly. Check again, are you sure you did not lose it when you played with it before? Xue Haoling shook his head, impossible. I had the Qianquan bag with me when I left the inn as I put the gold coins into it as we left. He had always protected his Qianquan bag. Even a thief couldn't steal it from him, and now it was gone. Lu Jingqi did not care about what Xue Haoling was saying, she just wanted to rest quickly and thus she reached out for her own Qianquan bag. It was just that when she touched where the Qianquan bag was supposed to be, it was empty. Ah! Why did my Qianquan bag disappear? Lu Jingqi suddenly said in a hurry, it must have been stolen by the students of Kanglan College. Lu Jinglin's face was also showing her worry and anger, let us go find and confront them. Lu Jingqi nodded her head, it must be them. Otherwise, the Qianquan bag can't be lost just like that. Xiao Lanmei looked at Lu Jingqi and the others indifferently. He then took out some coins and paid for their rooms before he said, you have no proof. Even if you go, you can only argue with them. As soon as his voice had fallen, Xiao Lanmei paid no more attention to the others and directly headed towards the room on the second floor. He never liked trouble, but he had not stopped Lu Jingqi from creating trouble before. Even so, he did not want to continue accompanying them like this. When she saw the move of Xiao Lanmei, Lu Jingqi's face became difficult to look at. It was obvious that he was not going to pay any attention to them anymore. Big sister. Lu Jingqi angrily cried out, I can't swallow this breath. Lu Jinglin's expression showed a strong helplessness. Jingqi, we can only endure. If Xiao Lanmei went forward, they might have a chance, but he already indicated that he was not going to participate. They had no chance at all. And even if they went there, they might not even be a match for the white-dressed woman. Lu Jingqi understood the meaning of Lu Jinglin, but this bad breath, she really couldn't swallow it. She was hopping mad. I will kill them. Otherwise I won't be unable to endure this hatred. Xue Houling's face was blue, he had never before eaten such a big loss. He had brought a lot of his things with him on this trip to the Qing dynasty. There were many rare items in the imperial capital. He originally planned to buy some cultivation resources and rare objects in the imperial capital, now that he has lost it all and they have not even reached the capital yet. How could he accept this? As he thought about this, he truly hated the cultivators of Kanglan College. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo were standing together and looking at another two middle-aged men. The atmosphere was tense. I did not expect that in over 10 years, there is no progress at all in the Kanglan College's students. They even were so rude as to cut through a woman's dress, their methods are truly shameful. One of the middle-aged men took the lead in speaking. He was wearing a silver robe, and his voice was filled with disdain. Mo Xinghai, your students already lost, be less arrogant. Lu Huaiyan did not care about the ridicule in the other's words, cultivators only care about success or failure, the process was unimportant. We don't think this can be regarded as losing, you used some unconventional ways. Duan Yingwu coldly snorted. Hearing this, Fu Hongbo sneered, Duan Yingwu, you are a mentor for many years at Beihai College, nothing has changed at all. We used unconventional ways to win. Well, at least our students did not bully the civilians. I don't know how much better your students are, but their character sure is poor. Fu Hongbo's mouth curled into a smirk as he looked at the other two teachers. Listening to Fu Hongbo's words, the expressions on Duan Yingwu and Mo Xinghai turned ugly. They were angry in their heats. They had not expected the students of the two colleges to meet here, but they were all watching the scene from a distance. They had not stopped it before, because they too wanted to see who would emerge victorious when the colleges collided. They were always very confident, and they were sure that the winner would be the students from Beihai College. They would never have thought that the results turned out to be so different from their thoughts, the students from Kanglan College actually suppressed them. They also understood that although the method that Xia Jiqing used was rather underhanded, Bailey Hongzhuang had really defeated Lu Jinglin and the others had not been defeated either. Lu Huaiyan smiled slightly as he looked at Fu Hongbo. Fu Hongbo never spoke much, but when he did he completely rendered others speechless. Today was not a part of the tournament. When we reach Lingyin College, your pride will be a joke. Duan Yingwu sneered, no longer paying attention to Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo, instead he directly left together with Mo Xinghai. They went to see their students, because today's actions had truly left them with no face left. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo looked at each other and saw that their faces were both filled with happy smiles. These students and mentors of Beihai College were a bit too proud, they could not help but feel that their own students were much better. Those little guys really brought us some honor today, Lu Huaiyan smiled. Duan Yingwu is already mad, I am afraid he must have rushed to scold his students. Lu Huaiyan raised an eyebrow, do you want to go visit our students now? Fu Hongbo thought for a moment, let them grow up on their own. Let's go to see the vice principal. They were not useful to Gong Xiaoqing and the others right now. Should they just go there for the sake of praising them? Hearing this, Lu Huaiyan nodded his head, okay, the vice principal must have waited for us for a while. The night slowly descended on the city and Bailey Hongzhuang was standing at the window looking out on the unusually lively night view of Longguang town. There was a faint smile on her lips. In the time she has been gone, many things has become different, but the scene in front of her with the bustling atmosphere did not change at all. Master, let's go. Little Black and Little White came out. They had been waiting for their boss to treat them to a delicious meal. Knowing that the two little guys could no longer wait, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded his head, sure. Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the inn. Xia Jiqing and the others had not rested for so many days already and were tired, all they wanted to do was take a rest. Because of this, Bailey Hongzhuang decided to go on her own. She was just going to buy something, it would not take too long for her to come back. Walking on the street, although it was already night, the scene was much more lively than it was during daytime, the night scene even made her slightly sentimental. Little Black and Little White was asking for a lot of things, and whenever they made a request, Bailey Hongzhuang bought them all the things they wanted. Even Baisher was unable to refrain from eating. Today's harvest was quite good, and Bailey Hongzhuang felt like she should reward them. Soon Bailey Hongzhuang made it to the marketplace of Languang town. Just standing on outside the market, Bailey Hongzhuang could hear the hustle and bustle coming from inside, and could not help but feel attracted to it. The marketplace was the most lively place in every city, and most of the things sold here were related to cultivation. Although it was mainly ordinary cultivation resources you could find at the marketplace, if you found something rare, you couldn't help but feel very lucky and fulfilled. As Bailey Hongzhuang entered the marketplace, everyone who saw her had a fascinated gleam in their eyes. Even if they had seen beautiful women before, they had never seen someone as beautiful as Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling the gazes of everyone, the eyebrows of Bailey Hongzhuang wrinkled slightly. She had entered the market on a whim, originally she had not intended to come here. She sighed to herself, reminding herself that in the future when entering such places, she ought to wear a black cloak so that she would not attract unnecessary troubles. Such a good-looking girl, I have never seen someone looking this stunning before. This girl is a student of Kanglan College. I advise you to not cause trouble, otherwise you won't know how you died. There were many people in the crowd who had seen her earlier. The act outside the restaurant earlier was enough to make her famous in all of Languang town. Hearing what the person said, the man snorted, "You said this girl is a girl of the Kanglan College? Aside from a student from one of the 3 colleges, how many girls can have such a temperament?" The person who spoke could not help but snort at the man before he continued to focus on his own stall. The man who had originally had some underhanded ideas in his heart also gave up. The cultivators from the Kanglan College were not normal people. He could not afford to offend them. He might make a big mistake, and he did not want to die young. It was not just him, everyone who had been standing around felt a chill in their hearts after listening to the words. Seeing that the situation eased up, Bailey Hongzhuang was also relieved. It seemed as if the big fight in the afternoon had some benefits. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the different stalls while walking, but went straight towards the exit. There was nothing that caught her interest. Even so, she did not feel disappointed. After all, most of the things in the marketplaces were used by ordinary cultivators. The real treasures had already been sold at a high price, so they are hard to find. However, just as she was about to leave, her eyes fell on a stall. In the light of sight was a black parchment roll randomly placed on the stall. The parchment roll looked ordinary, but she could feel some energy fluctuations with her strong spiritual sense. Her spiritual strength was very outstanding amongst cultivators. The fluctuations of this scroll was very small, if her strength was not high enough she would never have noticed. Bailey Hongzhuang stood in front of the stall and looked at the things that was placed upon it. There were some herbs, demon crystals and weapons, but Bailey Hongzhuang was not lacking any of these. In addition there were some unknown small things of no use, and the parchment roll was placed together with them. Baisher's gaze fell on the demon crystal. It walked all the way towards the demon crystal, causing the others to stop and look at it. "Girl, what do you want to buy?" The owner was a middle-aged man. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was in front of his stall, he could not help but ask. Not waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to answer, Baisher jumped onto the stall and the 2 claws held onto the demon core. Seeing Baisher's actions, the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang lit up slightly. This little guy understood her thoughts. Bailey Hongzhuang took Baisher and held him up, while he was still holding onto the demon crystal in his paws, as if he was refusing to let go. The stall owner also felt it was quite amusing after seeing the appearance of Baisher. "Girl, your pet is quite funny." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled helplessly, "He just like all these beautiful things." The stall owner nodded his head slightly. It seemed that this contracted pet was purely for appearance purposes, it did not seem to have any fighting ability. This kind of pet was very cute, and they usually liked pretty things. It was normal for this beast to look at the demon crystal right now. "How much does this demon crystal cost?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. "This is a demon crystal from a second-ranked demon beast, it costs 100 gold coins." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows raised slightly. "I remember that the price of the demon crystal of a demon fox is normally around 90 gold coins, your price is a bit expensive." Hearing this, the stall owner looked a bit sheepish, he was not aware that this young girl knew so much about the market. "Girl, this demon fox can't be caught in our country, the Beast Mountain range is far from us, so the mercenaries needs to work hard to get it." "That's enough." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bashi in her arms, but it seems as if it has no intention of letting go of the demon crystal, holding onto it tightly. The stall owner was also nervous. It would be such a shame if the girl left just like that. Seeing the situation, Bailey Hongzhuang said helplessly, "Seller, this demon crystal is really expensive. Why don't you give me something else as well?" She had previous experience that if you wanted a treasure at a trading market you could never directly ask the price for that item. If you did, the owner would directly raise the price, or he might not sell it. After all, such a thing that no one wanted to buy, if she suddenly wanted it, everyone would become suspicious. Therefore her current actions were the safest approach. "Girl, this is a small business after all," the stall owner pretended to be helpless, but deep inside he was feeling lucky. "These things aren't that good but you can pick two things amongst them." Bailey Hongzhuang laughed in her heart, it seemed that her goal has been reached. After picking a good-looking ornament, she picked the parchment scroll. "These two things then." "That's fine," the stall owner smiled, and he felt it was very profitable. These two things were simply not worth any money. He did not want to cheat the girl, but she seemed satisfied with these two things, so he was also happy. Bailey Hongzhuang left the marketplace and reached out to stroke Baisher's fur. "You are so smart," she praised him. She was thinking of buying something else, and Baisher had understood her idea. As a result, the stall owner had no suspicions at all. Listening to the praising words of Bailey Hongzhuang, Baisher could not help but being somewhat smug. It excitedly licked Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and said, naturally, "Stinky guy." Little Black and Little White cursed, but Baisher did not care. These two guys were just cursing because they had not been praised, they were just upset that they weren't beasts that their master could bring out. "It is getting late, so let us go back," Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. However, after walking a bit, her expression changed slightly. Her eyes turned dark as a bit of killing intent flashed within. "Master, someone is following us." Little Black's expression was solemn. Previously the master had always acted together with the Kanglan College's students, but now they have acted alone for the first time. These people have appeared out of nowhere. It seems that they have been following them for a while. "There are 3 people following us, all of them are in the Red Realm, and I cannot judge their exact strength." Little White analyzed, but his voice was somewhat heavy. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was at the 2nd stage of the Red Realm. With her age it was already very good, but when facing these opponents, she would encounter a great pressure. Unless Little Black attacked, then it would be fairly simple, but if he truly attacked, then they might be too eye-catching and completely exposed. "There's still me." Baisher was unhappy that Little Black and Little White dared to ignore it. Little Black and White had actually forgotten that Baishur had broken through just recently and its strength was now at the 5th stage of the Red Realm. It was a big boost in strength. Since you have appeared, stop hiding and come out. It was already late and the people on the street had almost all dispersed, only a few people were packing up their things and going home. The night was completely black and Bailey Hongzhuang had to admit that the other party had truly picked a good time to move. With the words of Bailey Hongzhuang falling, a man and 2 women appeared in front of her. They were all wearing black clothes, and their faces were covered with a cloth, so that it was impossible to see their appearances at all. Your perception is sharp, the woman on the left said, but you will not live past tonight. The eyes of Bali Hongzhuang were deep like a well, she was alert but not fearful, and there was no panic at all. Who sent you? Han Shiling. So far only 2 people would send red realmead cultivators to kill her, Han Shiling and Ji Yuner. Th contraction between herself and Ji Yuner was not small, and even though she later resolved her poison, with her bad temperament it was not easy to write off the previous resentment. With Han Shiling, although she looked very elegant and gentle on the surface, Bailey Hongzhuang could easily conclude that her heart was black. She would use any means to achieve her goals. You do not need to know this, the man in the middle whispered. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. Since you are coming to take my life, you should at least tell me who is going to kill me. We are from Shirtian Tower, we kill people, and that is all that matters. The man's voice is low and the 2 women by his side immediately moved, all of them rushing towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Shirtian Tower. This was the first time Bailey Hongzhuang heard about them. It should be an assassination organization. Since the other party actually looked for an assassination organization to deal with her, then it was likely to be Han Shiling. This was her style. Now that Di Baichen had returned to Tiangang's sect, Han Shiling naturally couldn't use her own hands, but letting an assassination organization deal with her, it would undoubtedly let her wash her hands of it. With Ji Yuner's impulsive temper, she would never order an organization to deal with her, she would send her minions instead. Looking for an assassination organization? She wasn't that smart. The strength within the 2 women's bodies surged in an instant, the majestic power burst out of the 3rd stage of the Red Realm. Bailey Hongzhuang looked seriously at the 2 women. She was currently at the 2nd stage of the Red Realm, but she firmly believed that she would be able to battle those at the 3rd stage. However, she was just still worried about the man standing at the side. She still did not know what strength he wielded. Judging the situation, the man's strength was clearly stronger than the 2 women, the reason he had not attacked yet was because he was not willing to attack just yet. When Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the man she noticed that he was also looking at her, albeit with a disdainful gleam in his eyes. He didn't really understand why they all needed to attack. Bailey Hongzhuang was merely a 2nd stage Red Realm cultivator, was it really necessary for all of them to attack? The employer had made it clear that they had to come together to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. It could be seen from this that the employer did not want Bailey Hongzhuang to have the slightest chance of survival. And the payment given by their employer was also rich, they truly got a bargain this time. Bailey Hongzhuang's energy was also surging in her body, and her eyes locked onto the 2 women. The 2 women did not intend to waste any time, they directly rushed at Bailey Hongzhuang. Their bodies were like 2 shadows in the dark, aiming straight at Bailey Hongzhuang's vital points. As an assassin they wanted to kill their opponent right away, so attacking the vital points was the best solution. The perfect and alluring face was immensely cold, and Bailey Hongzhuang was not slow. Yuanli gathered between her 2 palms, and she did not hesitate to greet the 2 female assassins. When the 2 assassins saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had not escaped, and even took the opportunity to greet their attack, their eyes were filled with disdain, their lips curled into a sneer. What an idiot! The cultivation base was weaker than them, but still thought about resisting. What was the difference between this and suicide? Boom! The fists of Bailey Hongzhuang quickly collided with the fists of the female assassins. As they collided, Yuanli shot out and a terrible shockwave wafted out, showing that the power was terrible. However, during this clash of power, the eyes of the two assassins could not help but be filled with surprise. It was to be expected that with their cultivation base, and with both of them attacking at the same time, this Bailey Hongzhuang only had a dead end. However, they were shocked that even though they used their strength which was higher than Bailey Hongzhuang, she was not injured. "I did not expect that you have some strength," one of the women snorted, her eyes boiling with humiliation and anger. The two of them had joined forces but been blocked by a weaker cultivator. This was a great shame to them. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a slight playful arc. "This is not all I got." Next, Bailey Hongzhuang did not waste any time, but instantly took some steps forward. She took the initiative to attack one of the assassins. Her best choice now was to attack them one by one. If she could kill one of the women first, then her situation would be much better. Boom! The two women continued to attack with their palms, and the tyrannical and unmatched strength continued to explode from the two figures. However, the more they fought, the more fear the two women started to feel. The strength of Bailey Hongzhuang was not at all like someone at the second stage of the Red Realm. Bailey Hongzhuang was not a normal cultivator of the second stage of the Red Realm. She was a true peerless powerhouse. She had a plenty of combat experience and could in no way be compared to normal practitioners. Although she was only at the second stage of the Red Realm and she was at a disadvantage, she could use her countless experience and her temperament to raise her strength to a new level. Not to mention, with all her knowledge from her previous life, she had made an extremely stable foundation to her cultivation base, and she was definitely the strongest among her own rank. Boom! Another hard collision caused one of the female assassins to step a few steps back, a fearful and shocked expression on her face. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength is simply too much. Even she couldn't compare to it. You are just a second-stage Red Realm practitioner. How can your strength be so overwhelming? The female assassin could not help but ask suspiciously. She could not help but think that the information they had received was wrong. That Bailey Hongzhuang was in fact not a second-stage Red Realm practitioner, but that she had kept her strength hidden. The lips of Bailey Hongzhuang were slightly hooked into an enchanting and charming smile. Why should I tell you? For cultivators, power was extremely important, especially a small difference between them could be enough to cause problems when fighting. After spending time tempering her body under the waterfall, she often used medicines to improve her body's strength. Although no one could see it when looking at her, her body is far tougher and more powerful than the average cultivator. Not only this, but she also cultivated a body martial art that she had gotten from the Bailey family, the Jade Body Technique. Body martial arts were quite different from ordinary martial arts. Its only purpose was to temper the body. The Jade Body Technique, when cultivated to completion, the body would be comparable to jade, indestructible. The Jade Body Technique was divided into 3 layers. Up until now she had only succeeded in cultivating the first layer of the martial arts. As for the later 2 layers, it would take a long time to reach. However, in her current situation, the first layer of the Jade Body Technique was already enough to give her a lot of help. Hearing the ridiculing words of Bailey Hongzhuang, the face of the woman turned ugly. Their strength was undoubtedly higher, but it felt as if the other party held the upper hand. They wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang to teach her not to be too arrogant. Baisher was quietly staying on the side, posing as a cute monster without any attacking power, as if it did not even know that its master was in danger. Master had already told it before, that she would take care of the 2 female assassins, while the target of Baisher was the male assassin. He only needed to pay attention to the male assassin, not let him attack, and when he tried, stop him. Baisher's round eyes kept staring at the male assassin in a seemingly careless manner. As long as the male assassin made the slightest movement, he would pounce on him right away. Fire Fist. The two female assassins saw that during their offensive, Bailey Hongzhuang had not at all lost ground, and their faces because ugly as they no longer held anything back and even used their martial arts. One right and one left, both of them reaching towards Bailey Hongzhuang, blocking all her retreat options. They were going to force Bailey Hongzhuang to return these attacks. They did not believe that under such an advance, she would not be able to hold on. When the male assassin saw that the two women had directly displayed their fire fist martial arts, there was a smile in his eyes. It seemed that this battle was about to end, their mission would soon be completed. Bailey Hongzhuang's pupils instantly contracted, but her heart was calm. These two women had never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang could make it out of this blockade, and when they finally realized it, it was too late, their fists had already collided into one another. Boom! The two fire fists collided with a tyrannical strength, both of them were backing up a few steps as their faces turned pale. However, just as one of the women stepped back, Bailey Hongzhuang had already arrived behind her with her own attack-breaking storm. The majestic Yuanli surged from Bailey Hongzhuang's fist and did not hesitate at all to attack the woman. The male assassin was shocked after seeing this and yelled out, "Be careful." However, all of this was happening so fast as lightning and thunder. Even though the male assassin called out, there was no time for the woman to react. Boom! The breaking storm smashed into the back of the woman. Under this fierce attack, the woman's body flew straight forward, and fell heavily on the ground. At the same time, a mouthful of blood sprayed out of her mouth, her breath weakening before completely cutting off. Bailey Hongzhuang was still cold. She had timed this attack perfectly to give a fatal blow to the woman. In this kind of a siege she was experiencing, she could not give her opponents even the slightest chance of survival. Once she found the opportunity she had to grasp it. The deep black phoenix eyes were completely calm, not the slightest unrest could be seen within them. The bright moonlight shone upon Bailey Hongzhuang, and her cold figure gave of a cold atmosphere. Especially the smile that lingered on her blood-red lips, it was quite chilling. The expressions of the male and final female assassin changed a bit. According to the information they had gotten, she was merely a student at Kanglan College. Most of the students in Kanglan College were young people, and there were not many who had actually killed another human before. However, after killing someone, there was no tension in Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, instead there was some enjoyment. As assassins they had a lot of blood on their hands, but they could still remember the panic and nervousness first time they killed someone. The two were shocked and they saw the reaction of Bailey Hongzhuang. According to the words of their tower master, those who behave like Bailey Hongzhuang were born to be killers. Now they had seen this kind of reaction from a simple college student, it was simply unbelievable. Bailey Hongzhuang did not stop there, she went to the other female killer, he wanted a battle. For those who wanted to kill her, she would never be soft. Being an assassin, you should expect to be killed. Feeling the coldness of Bailey Hongzhuang, the last woman also felt a heavy pressure on her. Previously, the two of them had not been her opponent, now she was the only one surviving, naturally she would be even less of an opponent now. Why are you not attacking? The woman could not help but look at the man behind her. At this point he could not help but be a little shocked by Bailey Hongzhuang. Hearing the words of the woman, the male assassin slowly awoke from his stupor. If he did not come out, it would end in both women's death. Losing one member was already a great shame for them. If he lost two companions against a second-stage Red Realm cultivator, he would become the joke of Shirtian Tower when he returned. The battle is over, you can go die now. The man's voice was bold, and his eyes gleamed with a gloomy killing intent in the dark night. At the same time a violent and volatile energy exploded out from his body, he was actually a fifth-stage Red Realm practitioner. The fifth stage of the Red Realm was a good strength when it came to assassins, however if he wanted to rely on this strength to put her to death, it was not enough. Only at the fifth stage of the Red Realm and you dare to threaten my life, you overestimate yourself. Bailey Hongzhuang's red lips hooked up in a confident and calm smile. Baisher, who was standing on the side, had long since been unable to hold back. Since it had broken through, it had not once attacked, and now it finally had a chance to fight. This man was so arrogant. It had to bite his neck off. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang, the man could not help but hesitate. Had the mentors from the college arrived? However, when he looked around him he saw that there was no movement and he let go of the fear in his heart. You are only a second-stage Red Realm cultivator, you sure talk big. Aren't you afraid of having your tongue cut off? The female assassin sneered. Bailey Hongzhuang's one brow slightly raised and she chuckled, since you are two, then we will also be two, let's fight 2 against 2. When the words were said, the male and the female assassin could not help but look around. Did the mentors really appear? Although they were confident in their strength, they knew that they were not the opponents of the mentors from the college. A feeling of tension and fear spread in their hearts and they kept looking around. If they saw the appearance of the mentors they would run away in an instant. There was nothing around them. No movement at all. You lied to me. The face of the man turned green with shame. He had been tricked by a simple sentence by Bailey Hongzhuang. What an embarrassment this was. Why would I lie to you? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Your mentor hasn't arrived. The male assassin gnashed his teeth with anger. Bailey Hongzhuang was showing far too much confidence, so he was easily tricked by her. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders innocently. When did I say that my mentors were here? What's more, there are 2 mentors at my college, if they come it would be a 3 against 2. Reaching this point, Bailey Hongzhuang helplessly shook her head. As far as your IQ is concerned, how could you even become an assassin? Being this stupid, it was a miracle that he was still alive. Little Black and Little White were also chuckling. These 2 assassins were simply too stupid. The situation that had worried them before was now easy to solve. They had already passed the dangerous part, so they had nothing to worry about. Naturally they did not mind humiliating the assassin. Then why would you say 2 against 2? There is no one else apart from you. The woman could not help but say in a very loud voice. Although the ridicule in Bailey Hongzhuang's words made her angry, her alertness as an assassin made her endure, trying to understand what was going on. After all, if there really is one more person here, they might suffer. Bailey Hongzhuang pointed at Baisher. I meant this guy. When the words of Bailey Hongzhuang fell, the male and female assassin could not help but look at the small beast and then they laughed out loud. What joke are you making? The male assassin laughed. This one. Based on what? An ornamental pet. The woman could also not help but feel that Bailey Hongzhuang was really stupid. Pets like this is really not their enemy. If they wanted to, then just one sword strike would kill it completely. Baisher, these 2 guys are laughing at you. Little Black could not help but wish for the world to be completely chaotic. Hurry up and show them your might, they think they are tigers when they are just sick cats. Little White also added. These 2 guys were actually quite unhappy that they could not attack, so instead they hoped that Baisher would teach them a lesson. In the eyes of Baisher was also a thick anger. He was a beastmaster, and now he was ridiculed by these 2 brainless idiots. This was simply unbearable. Master, I want to kill them, Baisher said angered. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes contained a bit of mischief when she looked to the 2 people. You have angered my contract beast, you have to be prepared to withstand its anger. She is really an idiot. The man could not help but laugh as he was thinking about how this college student was a true idiot. Go on. Bailey Hongzhuang did not care about the man's ridicule because soon he would know how stupid he was right now. Next, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out her colored glass sword and did not hesitate to attack the woman. The woman was also vigilant when she saw this. Although the contract beast was useless, Bailey Hongzhuang was not to be underestimated. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to attack the woman, the male assassin never put Baisha in his eyes. Instead he picked his weapon and got ready to attack Bailey Hongzhuang. However, it was a tragedy for the male assassin. The male assassin only felt a white light flashing towards him. He suddenly felt his hairs stand on ends. He could feel a strong sense of crisis in his heart. This sense of crisis was bigger than any other he had ever felt in his many years as an assassin. Here, how could someone pose such a great threat to him? Not waiting for the male assassin to react, Baisha had swiftly rushed up to him, and used his sharp teeth to bite down the neck of the male assassin. The man only felt a sharp pain in his neck. He did not even have the time to react before it was directly bitten through by Baisha. The second before he died, the man finally realized what had killed him. It was the contract beast he had never looked at before. He still did not understand, how could an ornamental contract beast directly bite his neck? He was a 5th stage Red Realm practitioner. The defense of his body was much stronger than that of ordinary people. However, seeing this result, Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised at all. How hard were the demon crystals? Baisha liked to eat them with no hindrance. The man's defensive power was simply nothing in front of Baisha's teeth. The woman was stunned by the scene, and she could not believe that the man had died so easily. When she looked at Baisha again, her eyes had completely changed. This. What kind of beast is this? You just need to know that he is not a normal beast. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold and indifferent. The glass sword also stabbed the woman at the exact same time. Bailey Hongzhuang collected the 3 assassins' Qinquan bags. It seemed that she was also getting a lot of wealth this evening. Clap. Just as the spoils of war had been collected, Bailey Hongzhuang heard a clapping sound coming from behind her. Listening to the movements behind her, the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang turned solemn. She was unaware of who it could be at the current point in time. However, when she saw the appearance of the person, she could not help but blink in surprise. The man was dressed in a soft black robe with blue silk embroideries. The handsome face was as if God had carved it from the finest jade. The dark deep eyes were filled with a slight smile, and these eyes were instantly recognizable for Bailey Hongzhuang. His eyes were different from Di Baichen's. While Di Baichen's were deep as the ocean, filled with confidence, the man in front of her was black as the night, holding a suffocating pressure and despair within. It's you. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at the man in front of her. This was the second time they had met each other. This person was no one else than Mo Yunjue, the Mo Yunjue she had met outside the mountain range back when the beast horde appeared. We meet again, Bailey girl, Mo Yunjue chuckled. His eyes either intentionally or unintentionally swept across a row of houses on the left. Behind these houses 2 men and 1 woman frowned when they noticed the gaze of Mo Yunjue. How come Mo Yunjue arrived here? It seems that he already noticed us. There was a hint of coldness in the woman's words. Our mission today can't be completed. Mo Yunjue's reputation is outstanding. Although I've never fought him, we are hiding well, and he still noticed us. He should be very strong. Since we have missed the opportunity, let's leave. One of the men said. The other man nodded his head. I did not expect that all 3 of them would die like this. It was a waste of a good opportunity. The 3 people no longer hesitated and left. Being an assassin was like this. As soon as they were exposed they would have to look for another opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but look at the row of houses before she turned to Mo Yunjue. Thank you. Oh. Mo Yunjue raised an eyebrow. I don't seem to know what you are thanking me for. If you did not arrive, I am afraid that other group of assassins would not have left. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face showed some signs of confidence, she too had realized that there was someone hiding there. The fluctuations were incredibly small, so she was not sure if they were there, but now everything was okay. With Han Shiling's temper, once she attacked she wanted to make completely sure that there was no chance whatsoever of survival. Therefore the first 3 assassins were just a scouting team. If they could kill her then that would obviously be for the best, but if they couldn't then another group would appear. She did not doubt that the second group of killers were even stronger than the previous ones. From this point of view, the assassins from Shirtian Tower seemed to work together. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang, a flash of appreciation appeared in Mo Yunjue's eyes. The performance of Bailey Hongzhuang had already stunned him. He did not think that the 3 who had hidden so well were noticed by her. It was really unbelievable. You sure are clever. It seems that the person who wants to kill you is going to be disappointed. Mo Yunjue's lips curved upwards as he laughed. It seems that the Beast Master has advanced quite a lot in your hands. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, faintly answering, it has broken through once. Towards this Mo Yunjue she has a feeling of uncertainty. When they were in the mountain range they just made a deal. She always thought that Mo Yunjue had a heavy background and story about him. The last time they obviously reached an agreement and Mo Yunjue also helped her once, so she was also grateful. Bailey girl, don't you live around the Luoyun mountain range? What are you doing here in the Qing dynasty? Mo Yunjue seemed to feel the gratitude of Bailey Hongzhuang and he asked something that made him curious. In fact, he was a cold and callous person who never had the desire to speak with people. Only this Bailey Hongzhuang was different. When he saw her the first time he felt that she was different from other people. At that time he was severely injured. He was quite sure that he would not be able to survive, but this woman actually helped him get rid of the poison. Therefore, now that he had seen Bailey Hongzhuang again, he could help but be interested. I'm going to Lingyin College, Bailey Hongzhuang said lightly. Why are you here? I'm just an ordinary businessman, I will naturally go where there is business. Are you a businessman? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Mo Yunjue. No matter how she looked at him, he did not resemble a businessman. Mo Yunjue's lips hooked up into a smile. Not all businessmen looks like businessmen. I am glad I don't stink of gold and copper as most of them smell of. However his business is quite different from ordinary businessmen's. Bailey Hongzhuang looked deeply at Mo Yunjue. With his behavior and appearance it did not seem as if he was telling a lie. In fact she also saw that he wasn't lying and there was simply no need to deceive her. You don't look like a businessman, but doing business is also good. Bailey Hongzhuang thought about how he had been so injured back at the Luoyun Mountains, he was able to escape from the swallowing cloud herb, so the strength of Mo Yunjue had to be very strong. His business should not be simple. Bailey girl, you saved my life last time and I am very grateful. If you have the time I would like to ask you out to have a meal with me. Mo Yunjue's voice was gentle and his eyes were like 2 black holes, without anything but darkness. It was impossible to see his emotions. This time you saved me, it should be me who owe you a favor. She had never liked to take advantage of others. If it wasn't for Mo Yunjue who had appeared, then her situation would have been very bad. Mo Yunjue just waved his hand, if you hadn't saved me last time, then would not have appeared this time. So I still owe you for your kindness. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. This Mo Yunjue was good at turning things around and making her unable to refute. Okay, she said helplessly, I will have a meal with you if I get to see you in the future. They have just met each other that one time, it was amazing they met a second time, the chance to meet again is even smaller. We will meet again, Mo Yunjue said. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a doubtful glance. She did not understand how Mo Yunjue could be so confident. However, there was no conflict between herself and Mo Yunjue, on the contrary, they had both helped one another and should be considered friends. Then I'll see you later. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand at him before turning around and walking back to the inn. It was late, and she was not sure about how many people Han Xiling had sent to deal with her. It would save her some trouble to hurry back as soon as possible. Mo Yunjue looked at the back of Bailey Hongzhuang, and the lips curled into a faint smile, but the eyes were flashing with a bit of danger. The next moment his eyes fell on the three bodies that were laying on the ground, and his eyes were like a black hole, flashing with a cold light as though the bodies were collected by him. There was nothing left apart from a bit of blood on the ground. When Bailey Hongzhuang had returned to the room, she could not help but think a bit. Master, I feel that this Mo Yunjue is not simple, Little Black slowly said. Baisher looks like this. Not many people would be able to distinguish the identity of Baisher, but he recognized it with a single glance. It is obvious he knows a lot of things. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I also have a feeling of being unable to see through this Mo Yunjue. She was quite sure that he was deeply hidden. But she felt that it was not a good idea to judge him. Some people hide deeply. Bailey Hongzhuang thought about it for some time, but then she shrugged her shoulders. Everyone had their own story, why should she try to pry deeper? It was the same with her, everyone was curious as to how she had changed from being a waste to how she was now. Wasn't she still hiding her identity? Listening to what Bailey Hongzhuang said, Little Black and Little White nodded. There was a certain truth in what their owner had said. However, that Han Xiling is really disgusting. Little Black's face was full of anger. The woman was pretending to be an elegant and refined woman, but in the dark she had sent assassins to kill their master. This kind of woman, she should just stop pretending next time, it is simply disgusting. Little White said. Baisher was sitting on the side as he nodded his head, he also found the woman abhorrent. The back eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang flashed with coldness. She did not have the last bit of good impression of Han Xiling. There were two kinds of arrogant women in the world. The first one had true pride and arrogance. This kind of person would never use underhanded methods to deal with their opponents. Because this kind of person wanted to defeat their opponent in an honest manner, otherwise they would feel it shameful. The other one is fake and proud and unscrupulous. She used a proud image to face the world. She was like a white swan on the outside, but her heart was dirty, everything was just an unspeakable disguise. Obviously Han Xiling belonged to the second type. I will definitely give her back in the future for everything she has done to me. The voice of Bailey Hongzhuang was filled with unspeakable coldness. She would never let go of an enemy. Since Han Xiling had already attacked her, she would not be polite towards her. Only, right now Han Xiling's status was higher than hers. Han Xiling could attack her, but she couldn't attack back. However, she believed that this situation would soon change. The members of a sect had always been great figures, not to mention that Han Xiling was also the granddaughter of the Grand Elder of Tiangang sect. From the moment she was born she was used to being superior, and it had grown to how she was today with the help of numerous cultivation resources. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's opinion was that some cultivators who came from simple backgrounds could be much more difficult to handle. Because they had a determined mind and a driving force in their progress. They had no way to retreat. This is also why many of the strongest people on the Xingxian continent were from humble backgrounds. Such cultivators were usually the most horrible and most determined. When she used to be the family leader of the Bailey family, she had seen many of these cultivators. Now that she had changed her identity, she did not feel that she was wrong. As long as you were strong enough, then background had no meaning at all. Little Black, Little White and Basishi had already understood everything after seeing the gaze of Bailey Hongzhuang. They did not need to say anything, they knew that their owner was destined to be enemies with Han Xiling. When they are reunited with Di Baichen again, they would tell him directly, that the one he considered a good sister actually was such an ugly woman. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly calmed down and took out the parchment roll she had gotten at the marketplace earlier. Looking at the black parchment scroll in front of her, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were bright. She could feel that there was a faint force of energy emitted from it, and she was curious, but even so, she knew that it was not certain that it was a treasure. Bailey Hongzhuang gently opened the scroll only to find that the only thing on it was a landscape painting. "Master, is this just a painting of a landscape?" The little paw of Baisher was placed upon the scroll as he looked at the painting. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the scroll carefully, but the scroll did not seem to contain anything else than a landscape painting that was drawn upon it. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. She was a little doubtful. Logically speaking, this should not only be a landscape painting. If it was just a normal landscape painting, why can I feel a bit of mental power fluctuating on it? Bailey Hongzhuang said, puzzled as she looked at the landscape painting, yet at that moment, the fluctuation she had felt earlier disappeared. "Master, I heard that some people might add a bit of soul power to useless things, so that the buyer think that it is a treasure and buys it at a high price. It was said that a businessman would never suffer a loss." But Little White shook his head. "That is not the case here. If he was doing it deliberately, then he would definitely not let her take it away like that." I too could feel the mental fluctuation of this parchment scroll. Little White's expression was doubtful. What could be the reason? Bailey Hongzhuang gazed at the parchment roll. She felt that it was not as simple as being a landscape painting. What's more, this scroll was only as big as a palm. Who would paint on such a small canvas? Her hands gently touched the material of the parchment scroll, and Bailey Hongzhuang found that it was very different from normal scrolls. Is there really no problem with this parchment scroll? In the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang a bit of doubt flashed. When she followed the family elders, they would tell her that some people would seal a real treasure using some methods. As a result, many would miss the treasure, only those who knows about it could unlock it. Her fingertips kept gently rubbing the parchment roll while considering what to do, what was feasible. Suddenly there was a firm light in the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang. It didn't matter, she should give it a try. Next, Bailey Hongzhuang reached out for a candle. Seeing her actions, all three beasts showed a bit of confusion. They quickly asked, "Master, what are you doing? Since I don't know if this parchment scroll is useful, it's better to try some different methods. If it is successful it'll obviously be the best, but if it isn't that's fine too. If it isn't it would have been useless in my hands anyway." Bailey Hongzhuang was indifferent. She knew that the method of burning it with fire was somewhat risky, but how would she know if it worked without trying it? If it failed, then it would not matter. Hearing it, the three beasts thought for a moment before they nodded their heads. What their owner said made a lot of sense, they had no reason to object. Bailey Hongzhuang placed the parchment scroll on top of the candle, allowing for the heat to penetrate through the material. The parchment scroll twisted at this temperature for a moment, but Bailey Hongzhuang saw that there were 3 layers to this parchment scroll. The front and the back were ordinary parchment scrolls, and the landscape painting which had been drawn so beautifully had now become nothing. In the middle of the 2 layers, a small thin piece of paper appeared. Success! Little Black couldn't help but be excited. This was truly the feeling of finding a treasure. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips also turned into a bright smile. It seemed that her judgment was correct. When she had rubbed the parchment scroll she had felt that the material was slightly thicker than normal, but there was really not much of a difference. She did not think that there was something wrapped within the 2 layers of parchment paper. It seemed that whomever had made this parchment scroll had spent a whole lot of thought on it. It was very difficult to make the parchment scroll this thin and perfectly blend the 2 pages together. Since even she had been unable to tell anything was amiss, Bailey Hongzhuang knew that this was not an easy thing to achieve. After burning the parchment scroll, Bailey Hongzhuang took the piece of paper that had been in the middle and placed it on the table. After the burnt paper slowly disappeared, Bailey Hongzhuang saw the content of the paper. This is a map. After seeing the content that was drawn on the paper, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but be stunned. Master, this should be a map, Little Black agreed with a nod of his head. However, this is not the entire map. Bailey Hongzhuang carefully looked at the mountains and rivers that were drawn on the paper, and she also saw a red route that was drawn onto the map. It was just that there was a starting point, but there was no end point to it. Looking at the mountains and rivers at the edge, Bailey Hongzhuang could also be certain that this was not a complete map. This should only be a part of the map. As for the other parts, I am afraid I don't know where they are. When Bailey Hongzhuang's words fell, the expressions of the three beasts turned somewhat disappointed. I thought it would be a treasure map, but where are the other parts? Little Black snorted. Even if it is a treasure map, finding the other parts will be very difficult. It went to show that just this piece of paper was so well hidden, it was really not simple. How well would the other parts be hidden? However, it was a true accident that they had been able to find this map. The Xingxian continent was so big, and they really didn't know where to go to find the other parts. They didn't even know if they would see the second part of this map in their lifetime. Bailey Hongzhuang gently petted Little Black's head. This little one was correct. Anyway, it's not a bad thing to have it in my hands. In the future, if we are able to find the rest, then that'd naturally be the best, but even if we don't, then that's just how it is. Bailey Hongzhuang was very calm about this. This kind of thing could not be controlled by humans, it all depended on luck. At least it proved that her previous judgment was correct, there was really something within the parchment scroll. Early the next morning, Bailey Hongzhuang gathered with the others outside the inn. The rest they had was enough to make them feel refreshed, now it was time to continue. Bailey Hongzhuang returned the inn to the shopkeeper, but he returned the purple gold coins to Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing the situation, Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised and puzzled. What are you doing? The shopkeeper smiled. Girl, you gave me far too much money to buy this inn from me. It is enough to buy quite a few inns. How could I accept your money? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and waved. Since I said so, naturally I meant it. You should accept it. Girl, I know you were forced to do this yesterday, I also want to thank you for helping me out. The money, however, I can't afford to accept. The attitude of the shopkeeper was very firm. He had been doing business for many years and had never cheated a customer. He couldn't take advantage of this girl. If you refuse to accept the money, then I can only choose to give up my inn, but the inn is very important to me. Everyone saw that the shopkeeper was so stubborn and they could not help but be surprised. Everyone wanted to profit, but the shopkeeper was doing the exact opposite. Suddenly they all had a very good impression of the shopkeeper. Such people were very rare nowadays. Hongzhuang, since the shopkeeper said so, then accept the money, Xia Jiqing persuaded her. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked deeply at the shopkeeper and said, well, thank you then. The shopkeeper waved his hand again and again. This is how it should be safe on your journey. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others got ready to start traveling again and planned on leaving Longuang town. When the shopkeeper returned to the counter, he was surprised to see that there was a purple gold coin on the counter. When he saw this, the shopkeeper could not help but laugh. His heart was a little more grateful towards Bailey Hongzhuang. So talented, she will become something big in the future. Soon after Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had appeared, the cultivators of Beihai College also showed up. When enemies meet, it is natural for jealousy to appear. If eyes could kill, then Bailey Hongzhuang would have died several times over. Yesterday Lu Jingqi ate a loss twice in the hand of Bailey Hongzhuang, and she was very unhappy. She did not think that the mentor would scold them for this matter, but it really made her feel suffocated. If she could, she would have killed both Xia Jiqing and Bailey Hongzhuang, but she did not have enough confidence in her strength, so she had no other option than to endure. Lu Jinglin and the others were also cold after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and her friends, not at all concealing the hatred in their eyes. However, the mentors had already told them not to start any fights. If they truly wanted to fight, then they had to wait until they arrived at Lingyin College. They had no other option than to listen to their mentor, however their hearts were hurting, and they couldn't wait to let this bad breath out. Xia Jiqing noticed that although Lu Jingqi had seen her, she did nothing. It was a bit strange, but she could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at the members from Beihai College with indifference before they turned back towards the road leading to Lingyin College. In fact, from beginning to end, it was always the students of Beihai College that were looking for trouble. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were not the kind of people to stir up a conflict. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the others left, the practitioners from Beihai College picked another road. If they stayed on the road that Bailey Hongzhuang and those had picked, then they would meet all the time, and they would be unable to hold back. The cultivators from Beihai College took another road from us, that's strange. Xia Jiqing said in a loud voice, that's not their style. Dongfang Yu's eyes were also slightly surprised when he answered, they took another route today, and their mood was quite different. I think they were reprimanded by their mentor. Although they could not see the mentors, they knew they were close by. Everything that happened yesterday was likely to be known to the Beihai College mentors. The confrontation between the students was already so volatile, but the confrontation between the mentors would be even more intense. Xia Jiqing smiled brightly, you're most likely right, it has to be like this. Even if they had lost twice, with the character of Lu Jingqi, it was impossible to back down like this. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a slight smile. Sooner or later we'll meet again. Let's go. After 2 weeks, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally arrived at the imperial capital of the Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty was a large country, and the broad streets with the magnificent buildings proved their long history. Walking on the streets, the traffic was busy, and the pedestrians were moving in a constant stream. The bustle was unlike any they had seen before. All kinds of things they had never seen before appeared here, even for Bailey Hongzhuang. So there was naturally some surprise and interest in her eyes. Wow, the imperial capital of the Qing dynasty is so prosperous. Xia Jiqing's eyes sparkled with excitement, and her head was constantly turning as she tried to see everything at once. It was simply too spectacular. Lingyin College is located in the imperial capital of Qing dynasty. Zhang Yunfeng was astounded. Lingyin College was located at such a bustling place, it was far different from what she had expected. Although the city was lively, it was almost too lively. A college was for students to practice, such a prosperous place could confuse students. Lingyin College was originally located at Lingyin City, which is at the border to the Qing dynasty. It was only after the sponsoring of the royal family that they moved to the imperial capital. Today the princes and princess of the Qing dynasty is studying at the Lingyin College and it has become the Royal College. Gong Shaoqing said slowly. As they listened, they all understood. They had not expected the relationship between Lingyin College and the Qing dynasty to be so close. No wonder that Lingyin College won twice in the college tournament. With the financial support of the Qing dynasty they have many more resources than others, Cui Haoyan could not help but say. Gong Shaoqing waved his hand, they lost the original purpose from setting up a college. They serve the royal family now, and there is a lot of restrictions on the students. I heard that amongst the Lingyin Academy students are many royals and nobles. And the requirement for these to enter is extremely low, while all the ones from poor upbringing has the harshest conditions to join. This is also why so many are going to Kanglin College now. Even if the resources are a bit lacking compared to Lingyin College, they will not have to be ridiculed by others, nor will they have the same restrictions. Dongfang Yu spread his hands as he said. When Lingyin College became servants of the Qing dynasty, this situation was to be expected. Everyone is entitled to think as they wish, but for the principal of the Lingyin College to force us to follow them like this, it is going too far. Bailey Hongzhuang was calm, she never felt that there was any right or wrong. It is just that you cannot force your thoughts onto others. Everyone nodded, this was also what was making them immensely annoyed. While everyone were discussing, Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongba had appeared in front of everyone. The vice principal went to see a friend here in the Qing dynasty, we will take you to the Lingyin College first. Lu Huaiyan smiled and said. These students had never shamed them, instead they were their pride. There was also a smile on everyone else's face. They were very curious about the Lingyin College. Under the leadership of Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongba, they slowly moved towards Lingyin College. On both sides of the street, many had their eyes turned towards Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. It was, after all, very eye-catching to see such a group of young and talented cultivators. I heard that the 3-college tournament is about to begin. This group of young experts must be cultivators from one of the other 2 colleges. Should be. I have seen many of Lingyin College's students, but these people I have never seen before. I don't know where they are from, but these students are really beautiful. Even so, Lingyin College is always the strongest. Lingyin College has already won 2 consecutive tournaments. If they win again, that is 3 victories in a row. The people were laughing as they chatted. They had always had good feelings towards Lingyin College. I can see that Lingyin College has a good reputation in Qing dynasty. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Lingyin College has produced many outstanding geniuses. The Qing dynasty is also highly respected, so naturally the reputation is very good, Lu Huaiyan explained. However, this is also good. Lingyin College is now more and more eye-catching, and you have the chance to grasp an opportunity and turn it all around. Along with the words of Lu Huaiyan, the people looked at each other and seemed to understand that this was truly a feast of hongmen. They could easily imagine that now they had arrived at the Lingyin College, they would become the subject of provocation and ridicule. The royal family had already been unrelenting, not to mention their college had already lost twice in a row, almost no one were optimistic about their college this time. Under the leadership of Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongba, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally arrived at Lingyin College. The white gate was big and magnificent, the gold-plated 4 characters shimmered in the sunlight. From this alone one could see the strong financial backing that the college had. This Lingyin College is really different. After being sponsored by the Qing dynasty, even the door is made so special, much more refined. Cui Haoyan smiled and said with emotion. By just looking at the gate, he could guess that everything within Lingyin College had been made with a mountain of money. In contrast, Kanglin College was indeed much simpler. Everyone had different feelings as they observed Lingyin College. However, just as they were about to enter the gate, a small guard stepped forward. Who are you? Only students of this college is allowed to enter. We are from Kanglin College and has come to participate in the college tournament, Fu Hongba explained. When the words fell, Fu Hongba was ready to enter the college, but the guard was still blocking the entrance with his body. How do I know if you are from Kanglin College? The guard looked at them with ridicule and sneered. Fu Hongba frowned slightly. So how do we prove it? Take out your identity token, the guard said, we will not let every cat and dog enter our Lingyin College just because they want. They have to see if they are worthy. Hearing the words of the guard, the expressions of everyone's faces turned ugly. The guard was clearly saying that they were not worth enough to enter Lingyin College. Fu Hongba and Lu Huaiyan looked at one another, and although they saw the anger in the other's eyes, they did not flare up. Identity token? What kind of identity token? Lu Huaiyan's eyes flashed with doubt. Before, no one had said anything about needing identity tokens to enter the college. Last time they came to the college there was not anything like this either. Did the Lingyin College change these past 3 years? Proof that can determine that you are from Kanglan College. The guard smirked as he had no intention of giving Lu Huaiyan an answer. Then inform your principal, he knows us and will be able to prove our identity. Fu Hongbo endured the anger as he said. The guard wanted to mock them further and looked at Fu Hongbo. Just by you. What makes you think you have the right to see our principal? He is always very busy. If everyone asked to see him he would have no time for anything else. Get out if you can't find a proof of identity. Don't stand here and block the door, it will damage the reputation of the Lingyin College. Seeing his mocking expression he successfully ignited Dongfang Yu and the others' anger. Even a guard is so arrogant, it is simply unbearable. Fu Hongbo also felt anger and wanted to end it right away. However, just as Fu Hongbo was about to actually do something, a mocking voice was heard behind them. Hey, someone was actually stopped outside the college. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others turned around only to see Xue Haoling and the others led by 2 mentors. The person who spoke was wearing a black robe and was a mentor of Beihai College, Duan Yingwu. Fu Hongbo's eyes were gloomy. Duan Yingwu had always been narrow-minded, so the ridicule was within his expectation. When they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had been stopped, the expressions on Xue Haoling and the others turned smug. The previous suffocation, now they could return it, since they had arrived at Lingyin College. Duan Yingwu smiled and looked at Fu Hongbo, but he did not care too much and led the students behind him inside. However, the guards who had been stopping them before allowed the Beihai students entry. He even had a smile on his face as he looked at Duan Yingwu and Mo Xinghai. Mentor Duan, Mentor Mo, you have arrived. Duan Yingwu smiled provocatively at Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan as he said, the location for our Beihai students should have been prepared, right? Of course it has. The guard nodded his head. Please enter. Seeing this, Xi Jiqing could not help but ask, why can they be allowed inside without a proof of identity? Duan Yingwu and the others stopped because of her words and gave Fu Hongbo a sly look. It was rare to see such a joke. Naturally they had to enjoy it. Can your identity be compared to ours? Lu Jingqi asked with a smug smile. Our mentors are famous. Who knows about some country bumpkins who came from God knows where. When they heard these words, the lips of Xue Haoling raised. They had eaten a loss at Bailey Hongzhuang's hands and now they must let her feel their superiority. This kind of people, we don't know where they come from. Guard, you have to check it. Lu Jinglin almost screamed as she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with eyes filled with resentment. This Bailey Hongzhuang was treated specially by Xiao Lanmei. This was hurting her greatly. And because of the injury Bailey Hongzhuang had given her, she had suffered a lot of pain. The 2 mentors were harsh, and although she was injured they would not slow down, causing her to be in severe pain. This was all Bailey Hongzhuang's fault. Now, under the introduction of the mentors, they have a slight understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, and know her name is Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling the resentful gaze of Lu Jinglin, Bailey Hongzhuang is calm and the resentment has no influence on her. The guard nodded his head and said, I will check their identity. Mo Xinghai smiled, everyone must be tired after moving so long, let us go to see the accommodation prepared by Lingyin College and take a rest. Yes, Su Haoling and the others opened their mouth and laughed excitedly. They thought that the people of Kanglan College were mad over being stopped outside the gate. As the cultivators of Beihai College disappeared from the vision of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, everyone's eyes fell on the guard again. Mentor, why bother with him? Let's just go inside. Cui Haoyan could not help but say. This kind of annoying person who was deliberately making a fool of them and refusing to say anything straight. In fact, they can feel that this is the attitude of Lingyin College. How can a guard make such trouble on his own? Cui Haoyan is right, we can just enter, the guard can't stop us. Bai Junyu agreed. They were here to represent the Kanglan College but were stopped by a mere guard. This was an embarrassing matter. Listening to the words, the expression on the guard's face changed slightly, but he soon said, "You want to force your way into the Lingyin College? Do you think I won't dare get the royal guard to drive you away?" Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo looked at one another, not sure about what to do. This reflected exactly what they had expected. If they forced their way in, they would get a bad reputation, but staying here would be humiliating. Once the royal guard appeared they would be arrested, then this could be a big trouble. Even if they knew that this was the idea of the Lingyin College, they were at a loss for what to do. At this point in time, Bailey Hongzhuang spoke up. "Are you sure you want us to be locked outside?" The guard looked at her and said, "Of course, you can't prove your identity, how can I let you inside?" Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with doubt. Right now they had no solution, maybe she could fix it. "We were invited by Lingyin College to participate in the tournament. You dare to stop us from entering, are you sure you can afford to do this?" The momentum of Bailey Hongzhuang was unstoppable, even if Lingyin College were going against them, this was too much. If they did not show their attitude, then they would simply be despised. Previously someone told him it was best to make things difficult for the Kanglan students and make them lose face. However, when the woman said this, he did not know how to answer. After a moment of hesitation the guard said, "As a guard I will stop anyone unknown. What responsibility do I have to take?" After speaking, the guard showed a smugness in his eyes. He would not be scared. If this student of Kanglan College wanted to be too much, he would make her forced to submit. Just as the guy wanted to see Bailey Hongzhuang turn pale, he saw her sneer. "Since Lingyin College does not welcome us we are leaving." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo when she said this. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo also nodded their heads. They could not continue this deadlock. It was better to just leave. As for the follow-up they would find a way to handle it later. When the guard saw that the Kanglan College's people were about to leave, the expression on his face finally flashed with some color. He was only ordered to cause some problems for the students, if they really left he would not be able to handle the aftermath. Xia Jiqing and the others did not hesitate and left together with the two mentors. The attitude of Lingyin College was simply too disgusting. Wait, seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others get ready to leave the guard could not help but call out. Bailey Hongzhuang stopped her steps and looked at the guard, sarcasm heavy in her eyes. "What now? We are not even at the door of Lingyin College, if something is broken, don't come at us for it." Hearing the sarcasm in her voice, the guard's face turned red. His expression was ugly before he raised his chin in arrogance once more. "Wait a moment, if anyone can prove your identity I will let you in." When he spoke everyone were silent. It seemed that he still wanted them to show gratitude to him. "No need." Bailey Hongzhuang lifted her hand slightly. "We can see the hospitality of the Lingyin College clearly." Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Xia Jiqing and the others and said, "Let us leave this place, they are too arrogant." Next Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked away with steady steps. This kind of place, if they continued to stay they'd just be ridiculed. Why would they do that? "Hey! You guys," the guard looked at the back of Bailey Hongzhuang and her group and his face became ugly. He did not expect that the situation would become like this. As a matter of fact, these people from Kanglan College should not try to leave, how come the situation was like this? Thinking about it, the guard rushed into the college with an anxious expression on his face. He had to tell the higher-ups. Soon after the people from Beihai College had entered Lingyin College, the two mentors of Lingyin College came to greet them. Mentor Duan, Mentor Mo, we haven't seen you for a long time. One of the instructors of the school, Wan Yulong, had a happy smile on his face. Seeing Wan Yulong, Duan Yinggu and Mo Xinghai's facts also reveal a smile. Hello Mentor Wan, we haven't seen you for a while, it seems your strength has increased. Wan Yulong smiled lightly and seemed modest, though he said with heartfelt pride, a bit stronger. You have arrived, I don't know when the students from Kanglan College will arrive. The mentor next to Wan Yulong asked. Hearing this, Duan Yinggu and Mo Xinghai could not help but laugh. They are being blocked at the door, the guard wanted them to prove their identity. I am afraid they won't be able to enter for a while. Duan Yinggu chuckled. The good drama has already begun, Wan Yulong chuckled. I would have liked to see this good show for myself. Mo Xinghai nodded his head. It was indeed a good show. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongba had faces as gloomy as water, but they had not attacked. There is nothing in their Kanglan College, they can't turn it around even if they got some luck in the ruins. Yu Yulong's face was filled with disdain. This kind of collage has no right to enter. The mentors did a good job, they should be unable to verify their identity. The four mentors smiled at each other. There was some ridicule in the smiles. Today is really fun, isn't that Bailey Hongzhuang so good normally, isn't it just being humiliated as well? Lu Jinglin's eyes flashed with success, but her eyes were on Xiao Lanmei, she wanted to know what his attitude towards all this was. Lu Jingqi was also very excited. Today I am really too happy. They deserved it, now let's see them getting a slap in the face. She was disgusted with Xia Jiqing. Now she wanted to see her being taken down a notch. I don't know how long the students will have to wait outside. Shui Haoling also felt that he was letting go of a bad breath. Although he had no evidence, he knew they had taken his Qinkuan bag. It was impossible for ordinary people to do so. Xiao Lanmei was indifferent as if it had nothing to do with him. Lu Jinglin also let go of her impression after seeing Xiao Lanmei like this. It did not seem like H treated her that special after all. However, just as the four mentors were all very happy, the guard came rushing over. Mentor. Mentor Wan, Mentor Jiang. Seeing the guard, Wan Yulong also felt he had done a good job and smiled. You did a good job today, it earned face for our academy. He was the first person to let them know their lowly identity when they came to the academy. Mo Xinghai and Duan Yingwu's faces were also filled with smiles. This trick is really making them happy. However, the guard who had run all the way had an anxious expression and gasped with a big breath, They. Wan Yulong patted the guard's shoulder, what about them? Say it slowly. They. Left. At this moment the guard said it and Wan Yulong was shocked, frowning slightly, who left? The team from Kanglan College, they are gone. The guard's face was very ugly. He did not think that they would leave just like this. If they don't participate in the tournament, it would be horrible if he got blamed by the principal. Wan Yulong's face changed. What? How is this possible, what did you do? Mentor, I asked them of proof of identity just as you instructed me to, and instead of arguing they just left like this. The guard looked bitter. Mentor, I did everything as you instructed me to, you have to save me. The reason he dared to be so arrogant was because he was certain the team would not leave, only look for a way to enter the college. He had never expected they would do the complete opposite. It made him dumbfounded. To become a guard of Lingyin College was a good job. He had used a lot of personal relationships and was able to finally become one. He couldn't lose this job because of this. Not only Wan Yulong, but also Jiang Lihui's faces suddenly changed. How could they go? Wan Yulong was unable to believe it. Won't they participate in the college tournament? According to what he had thought, they would not leave. Duan Yingwu and Mo Xinghai were also shocked at this point. They had made the college tournament earlier for the sake of dealing with the Kanglin College. As long as the Kanglin College failed this time again, the college would never be able to lift its head in the future. Now that the team from Kanglin College had left, if they didn't participate in the college tournament, then hadn't they lost greatly this time? The most important thing was that it was all caused by Lingyin College who blocked their entry. So even if they choose to drop out from the tournament, then it was not their fault. This could be very troublesome. Hongzhuang, we left just like this, do we not participate in the tournament? Xia Jiqing could not help but ask the things that worried her. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand, of course we will participate in the tournament. So what do we do now? Xia Jiqing asked in a confused way. We just need to find an inn here in the imperial capital. Everything was arranged by the Lingyin College and they will definitely not be willing to see us leave like this. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a confident smile. In her opinion, the trick used by Lingyin College is simply too stupid. Rejecting them for the sake of ridiculing them, but when they left, their principal would have to come back and apologize to them. Which college would lose the most face by this? Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo completely understood after listening to the words of Bailey Hongzhuang, and their hearts were filled with admiration towards her. Bailey Hongzhuang was really smart. Since they will not let us leave, they will come and ask us to come back. We will just find an inn and live in, while experiencing Qing dynasty's imperial capital the next 2 days. Lu Huayan smiled. This method of Bailey Hongzhuang, not only did it save their face and save them from humiliation, it also made the Lingyin College lose face. It was definitely the best solution. Listening to the two mentors, Bai Junyu and the others understood what was happening and their faces showed a smile. After we said we were leaving, the guard's face instantly turned into the color of a pig's liver. Xia Jiqing smiled happily. At this moment, since she had understood all the ins and outs of the matter, she did not have the same tension as she had in the beginning. Now that she thought of the appearance of the guard, she could only feel that it was all ridiculous. The guy was annoying, and we left. He must be very unhappy now. As practitioners of Kanglin College they have always been respected, but here they were being humiliated. Dongfang Yu chuckled. Even if the guard was ordered to do this, when this is informed to the Lingyin College's principal, he will not have a good time. As Dongfang Yu said this, the others gave him a thumbs up. This was simply the best. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others randomly found an inn in the imperial capital. Even though they had traveled for a long time, they were only a little tired, instead they were interested in the imperial capital of the Qing dynasty. The two mentors have already gone to meet the vice president. Why don't we go out and experience the imperial capital at night? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.